On the flight, my fellow flight attendant's husband's primary school sister gave him my picture to avoid her online crazy critic boyfriend. After I ignored the crazy critic boyfriend, he killed the passengers in the cabin to vent his anger. The passenger's family was so angry that they punched and kicked me. The co-pilot's husband, in order to protect his schoolmate, stood up to testify on her behalf, accusing me of really being the guy's online love interest, which led to me being beaten to death by someone else. Opening my eyes again, I was back before the plane took off. Is your screen name just thinking about your heart? In person, it's even prettier than the picture. Looking at the sharp-tongued, young and lewd face in front of me, I had a momentary trance. In my last life, it was because of this person that I was beaten to death by an angry family member. The pain in my body seemed to sweep back, and I held back my fear and politely shook my head. This gentleman, you've got the wrong person, I don't know you at all. After saying that, I glanced at Xinjingxian, who was not far away, and accurately captured the emptiness in her eyes. This man was the object of her online love. After learning that the man disguised rich second generation, Xinjingxian immediately wanted to break up with him, but did not expect the man is an extremist, threatened to kill her if she dared to break up. Xinjingxian did not dare to mention the breakup again, knowing that the man was going to come over on this day to take a plane and surprise her. She gave him my photo and mobile phone number. This time, I want to solve him first to avoid a repeat of death. A wry smile appeared on the man's lips and he shook his mobile phone. We've been talking for so long, how could I possibly be mistaken? Thinking of what was going to happen, I stopped tangling with him and decided to go to the passenger police and kick this man off. Passing by Xinjingxian, she followed me forward. Sister-in-law, what did that man say to you just now? Xinjingxian is my husband's Suhao's schoolmate. After graduation she joined the company and was in a group of flights with me. My husband asked me to take care of her more. I didn't help her much on weekdays, and I even ended up dying because of her. In this life, I will never do such a stupid thing again. The plane was about to take off and it was urgent, so I ignored her and went to find the passenger police. Xinjingxian didn't know what I was going to do and kept following me behind. Hearing me tell the passenger police that I was going to kick that person off, Xinjingxian immediately spoke. No way! I looked at her anxious look and knew that she was afraid of angering that person and causing her harm later. But I still pretended to be unaware. Why not? Xinjingxian of course didn't dare to tell the truth. We don't have the right to drive passengers off the plane. The passenger police also had some difficulties. Xinjingxian was right. Unless there was definite evidence that could prove that the man would cause harm to everyone, there was no way for us to drive him away. I certainly didn't have any evidence, but Xinjingxian did. Xinjingxian, you know that man, right? Xinjingxian shook her head without thinking. No. Don't know. I laughed. What time is it? For everyone's safety, you must tell the truth. Hubby heard the commotion here and also walked over. Lin Yushu, the plane is about to take off. What are you arguing about here? In my last life, after that man was ignored by the unknowing me, in order to get my attention, he actually choked a little boy to blackmail me. The co-pilot's husband came forward to testify and forced me to admit it. Because he recognized the avatar of the person the man was chatting with as his primary school sister. Once again, I denied that the crazy man had strangled the little boy. Husband are on the side of others, the man has my mobile phone number, the boy's family naturally do not believe me. In anger, they held me down and punched and kicked me. My husband not only did not help, but also protect Xinjingxian behind. By the time the passenger police subdued the men, I was also beaten to death. The plane was in the air, and I missed the best time to be rescued and died on the way to the hospital. My husband's gentle face was like a snake in my eyes at the moment. My face turned cold. Su Hao, if Xinjingxian doesn't come up with evidence, we will all die. Hubby frowned. What evidence or not, I asked you to take care of Jingxian, is that how you take care of her? Seeing her husband, Xinjingxian looked like she had found something to rely on, and quickly hid behind him with an aggrieved look. Take care? I found it a bit funny. Last time she wanted to privately give her number to a first-class guest, I was the one who stopped it in time, otherwise would she still be standing here now? Qin Jingxian was so intent on marrying into a wealthy family that she actually tried to leave her mobile phone number to a guest before while she was delivering lunch. Luckily, I caught it in time and stopped it. Speaking of which, I glanced at Qin Jingxian. Qin Jingxian, I won't bother with you about the past, but that person, you should know that if he stays on the plane, he's a time bomb. Hurry up and bring out the evidence so that the flight police can kick him off, it's good for both of us. Qin Jingxian's eyes flashed with a flash of doubt, as if she was guessing whether I knew the inside story or not. But soon, her eyes reddened and tears continued to flow down her face. Senior, I know that I'm a bit foolish, and it's all my fault that sister-in-law doesn't like me. But sister-in-law, you can't wrong me either, I never gave the guest a phone number, nor do I know that man. Qin Jingxian is sure, the phone number thing only we two know, she does not admit it, I can do nothing with her. And this trick Pearly, for the husband tried 100 times. Hubby took out a tissue, for Qin Jingxian wiped her tears, softly soothing. Don't cry, I believe you. He turned his head to look at me with a look of impatience. Lin Yushu, why do you have to make things difficult for Jingxian? Me make things difficult for her? Heh, in his eyes, his primary school sister is the world's first white lotus, everyone else is the silt at the bottom of that pond, and saying one more word is polluting her. The moment I was killed, I was already dead to him. When this flight is over, I won't continue this marriage either. Since Su Hao said that I'm making things difficult for her, I'll really make things difficult for her today. I took a step forward and stared tightly at Qin Jingxian. You say I've wronged you, then take out your mobile phone and let's take a look at the chat records. Qin Jingxian was a little weak from my look, my mobile phone is switched off. Su Hao shielded Qin Jingxian behind him, blocking me from staring at her, his face grim as if he was looking at an enemy. Lin Yushu, stop it, the plane is about to take off, you should hurry and check the cabin. The passenger police officer shook his head as he listened to our words and went about his business. Obviously, he took what I said as a family drama. I wanted to say more, but Su Hao had already pushed me, if you keep making such a scene, don't blame me for giving you a punishment. Behind him, Qin Jingxian revealed a smug smile. See, this is my husband, between Qin Jingxian and me, he will always choose Qin Jingxian. Even if something goes wrong, he will only choose to let me take the blame. I looked at him, my eyes devoid of temperature. Just don't regret it. In this life, I definitely won't die innocently and in vain again. Isn't it protecting his schoolmate? Then let the plane take off and see if he can still protect it this time. I turned around and returned to the cabin service room, and behind me came my husband's gentle soothing voice. Xian, you weren't scared, were you? A vicious chill welled up inside, and I hastened my pace. The plane officially took off. By the time the plane began to fly smoothly, the crazy batchman Lu Song could no longer sit still. When I was preparing drinks in the service room, he directly ran over and wrapped one arm around my waist. So your name is Lin Yushu, Shu, that's a nice name. He should have seen my work tag before takeoff and remembered my name. I moved to the side in a hurry, looking at his lewd smile, I only felt disgusted. But fearing that he would commit an extreme act, I took a deep breath and smiled politely. Sir, can I help you? Shu, I need you. He blushed when he saw me actually ducking away. There were 2 other flight attendants in the service room, including Qin Jingxian. They were both shocked to see Lu Song as well. My brows furrowed and my smile could no longer be maintained. Sir, please respect yourself. Lu Song approached over towards me step by step. What kind of innocence are you pretending to be? Weren't you quite relaxed when chatting online? The eyes of the others looking at me changed, carrying considerations in them. I hastily stepped back again. This action annoyed Lu Song, and his voice steepened. Playing hard to get with me, are you? Your photos are all in my mobile phone. Hearing his words, I glanced towards Qin Jingxian. She actually had a smile on her face, looking like she was watching the fun. There wasn't the slightest bit of worry. Perhaps it was because she was certain that with the photo she sent to Lu Song, this matter couldn't possibly lead to her, and that's why she wasn't worried. Okay, watch the fun, right? Then let you experience the feeling of eating melon on your own head. I paused my body. Is that so? Then take out those photos and take a look. Liu Song didn't expect me to be scared at all. Instead he wilted. His tone was less forceful. Shoo, your colleagues are all here. I don't want to make a scene. Today I have prepared a surprise for you. Can you go to the bathroom with me? After saying that, he was about to come and pull me. I took a step back without any trace. Don't, you have to say you know me, but I don't know you. You have to prove it. I am the person you are looking for, right? Shin Jingxian heard my words and worried about any changes, said anxiously. Lin Yueshu, he spent money on a plane ticket for you. Just go to the bathroom with him. The two stewardesses next to me who were on good terms with Shin Jingxian also echoed in a conspiratorial manner. Sister Shu, he's prepared a surprise for you. Why don't you go? I really didn't expect that Sister Shu is playing quite fancy, having a husband and still engaging in this online dating thing. I coldly glanced at the two who spoke. Saying that without evidence, believe it or not I'll sue you for slander. The two people couldn't help but skim their lips, but they didn't say anything else. When Shin Jingxian saw the two people's expressions, she came over to my side and whispered. Sister-in-law, I'm doing this for your own good. If the matter becomes a big deal and the senior learns about it, the consequences will be unimaginable. Hoping that I still have to thank you? I smiled and looked at Shin Jingxian, raising my voice. Shin Jingxian, since you're so nice, why don't you go with him? It's better if it's a big deal. I'm not afraid of shadows. If it's not me, it's not me. Shin Jingxian was annoyed by what I said. Really don't know how to be nice. I'm going to deliver the drinks. I know that she is worried about revealing herself and wants to leave. Then I definitely couldn't let her have her way. I pulled her arm. Don't worry, the truth will soon come out. This gentleman, you'd better take out the photo to make sure. Don't really find the wrong person, it's not good for everyone. Liu Song's eyes flashed, his hand reached into his pocket, seemingly wanting to pull out his mobile phone. Shin Jingxian was a little flustered, and immediately had to break away from me. I tightly tugged Shin Jingxian so that she couldn't move. The show was about to start. How could the protagonist leave? Shin Jingxian became anxious and hurriedly called out to the two stewardesses who were close to her. You guys quickly help me, pull this crazy woman away. My husband, who was resting in the lounge, heard Shin Jingxuan's voice and rushed over. Seeing me pulling Shin Jingxuan's arm, a look of heartache appeared on my husband's face. Indiscriminately, he punched my wrist with scarlet eyes. Lin Yueshu, are you done? You made things difficult for Xian before takeoff, and now what are you up to? I subconsciously loosened my hand under the pain. Shin Jingxian softly leaned on her husband's shoulder, her eyes filled with tears. Senior, I don't know how to offend my sister-in-law. Oh. Clearly that passenger came to her and said that it was her online boyfriend. She preferred to grab me. What a good move to make a preemptive strike. The stewardess who was friends with Shin Jingxian, seeing someone backing her up, pointed at Liu Song and said, That's him, Captain Su. Just now he came to Lin Yueshu and said. Su Hao's eyes fell on Liu Song, his face dyed with a layer of frost. Say what? Said that he and Lin Yueshu were chatting hotly online, and this time he took the plane to find her. Also, that man has her photo in his mobile phone. It's not likely that it's that kind of photo. Let him take it out and see what he knows. After the two finished, they looked at me proudly, as if they could already hold me. These two stewardesses didn't know that the person Liu Song was really looking for was Shin Jingxian, and naturally, they weren't at all afraid of Liu Song flashing the photo. They didn't know, but Shin Jingxian did. She immediately panicked and looked at her husband with pearly eyes. Senior, forget it, it's not glamorous, it's better to wait until the flight is over. Liu Song also seemed to have heard what was going on, his face changed, and coldness popped up in his eyes. Shu, you have a husband? Didn't you say you only love me? However, I don't care if you have a husband, as long as you are with me. I was in awe. This is a madman. He once again moved closer to me, the bottom of his eyes obscure. Hubby took Shin Jingxuan's shoulders, cold eyes, without any intention of blocking. Without the slightest fluctuation in my dead heart, I rubbed my still aching wrists. picked up the beer can on the table next to me, and raised it in front of me to protect myself. With the other hand, I pointed to Xinjingxian behind me. Your online lover isn't me, it's her. Hearing this, Lu Song froze and subconsciously looked over in the direction I was pointing. When my husband saw me pointing at Xinjingxian, he grimaced and spoke in an unkind tone. Lin Yushu, you've had enough, not to mention online dating behind my back, now you want to frame Xian. I was really blind in the beginning to marry someone with such an evil heart as you. Hee hee, blind? I laughed inwardly, the one who was blind was me. When I was in college, Su Hao was the school bully, and then only agreed to be with me under my continuous attack. After falling in love, the living expenses of 3 years of college, plus marriage after graduation, he attended the training, all the expenses are all taken by me. Because I like, so I willingly. But in my last life, until I was killed alive, I thought Su Hao had a trace of feelings for me. The second before I lost consciousness, I clearly saw the concern and worry in Su Hao's eyes, attention I had never seen before. Only, that look didn't belong to me, but to his high school sister, Xinjingxian. At that moment I realized that when you really love someone, you can't hide it in your eyes. How ironic! I paid the body and mind of the money people, even my life and death do not care. Having tasted my heart as if it was dead, at this moment, listening to such mean words from him, my face was calm and waveless, no longer able to send out a single ripple. You're right, Su Hao, I was blind to choose to marry you. Saying that I have a vicious heart, right? Good, then I'll live up to this bad name. Saying this, I looked towards the mobile phone that Lu Song had already pulled out. Lu Song, take out the chat records and compare them, naturally you'll know who it is. No way! Xinjingxian stood out again. Perhaps realizing that she was too excited, her expression snapped. Sister-in-law, it's better not to look at it, I'm afraid that there are some unpleasant words in it, which is not good for you. Su Hao, who hadn't realized that things were wrong at the moment, patted Xinjingxian's back and softly pacified her. Xian, you're too kind, Lin Yushu just slandered it was you, and you're still thinking about her. After saying that, when his gaze turned to look at me here, it turned into an icy look. Look! Must see, I want to see what nasty things this woman has done behind my back. I looked at Xinjingxian's green face and smiled faintly. Then look, just in time to return my innocence. Xinjingxian, this is your good senior who wants to push you into the fire pit, it's not my fault, oh. Lu Song opened the mobile phone chat page, Xinjingxian wanted to go and block it, it was too late. Shoo, look at these chat records, do you still want to deny it? I spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on you, you call me your husband every day, and send me all kinds of photos, made an appointment to meet today, you want to surprise me in the bathroom, how can I admit my mistake? Why don't you admit it? He disliked the phone in front of me, his gaze gradually crazy. You have sent me a lot of large-scale photos, even where the mole in front of your body is, I know, it's impossible to recognize the wrong one, haha. Xinjingxian's body couldn't help but stiffen when she heard this. I looked at the unpleasant words in his mobile phone, still blushing lightly. I didn't think that Xinjingxian was really quite flamboyant in her private life, even sending photos of the scale. However, she was still quite thoughtful, and the big headshots she sent over were all pictures of me. And the one she chats with should be a small number, not the number we usually communicate with. The other two stewardesses, both stretched their necks forward, not wanting to miss the opportunity to watch the fun. The direction Su Hao was standing, he couldn't see the content in the mobile phone. He let go of Xinjingxian, snatched the mobile phone from Lu Song's hand, and flipped through those chat records. The more he looked, the more gloomy his face became. But I knew that he wasn't angry, but worried. Whether or not there is a mole in front of me, he knows best. He was also the only one who could be most certain if that person was me or not. Soon, when his eyes landed on the chat avatar, a flash of doubt flashed through. This doubt flickered, and by the time he raised his head, it had turned into anger. Lin Yushu, how could you do this? This is betrayal on your part. See, he had clearly established that the person he was chatting with was Xinjingxian, yet he still threw the dirty water onto me without a second thought. because he could see that that person was a person of extreme behavior and would likely cause harm to Shin Jingxian. And my well-being was never important. I snapped to thinking of when I was initially with my husband, when I got together with his friends, and those people occasionally mentioned my husband's white moonlight. At that time, by the husband to interrupt the past. Now that I think about it, perhaps that white moonlight is right in front of me. Shin Jingxuan's face went white when her husband looked at the chat log. It wasn't until Su Hao said these words to me that she breathed a sigh of relief. Sister-in-law, how could you do such a shameless thing? Can you stand up to the senior? Su Hao looked exceptionally furious and raised his hand to slap towards my face. Wanting to sit on my betrayal. I grabbed his wrist and threw it down hard. Su Hao didn't expect me to fight back and froze in place. I took out my flight mode mobile phone and opened the communication number. This is my number, it's not the same as the one you chatted with. What if you used a smaller number? Shin Jingxian became more and more rampant. I laughed. I only have this number, there is no small number, if this cannot be confirmed. Lu Song, you said that you spent hundreds of thousands of dollars for me, where is the evidence? Lu Song opened the photo album in his mobile phone. These are the transfer records I gave you, and the red packets you send on holidays. I entrusted someone to buy you a bag from abroad and send it to the companies. I pointed to the photos of those bags in the album and shouted with feigned surprise. Why are these bags so familiar? I remember, before Shin Jingxian also showed off in the circle of friends to come, I have never carried these bags. After I finished my words, the other two stewardesses also stared wide-eyed. I remember, Jingxian even showed off in front of us, saying that it was brought by a friend from abroad. This bag is tens of thousands of it, at that time gave me envy bad. Plastic sisterhood, in the middle of jealousy easily disintegrated. The two people looked at Shin Jingxian, the corners of their mouths revealed contempt. No, no. Not me, not me. Shin Jingxian panicked, denied repeatedly. Lu Song stared at Shin Jingxian there, looking up and down. I added another fire. By the way, Shin Jingxian fell a few days ago, there is a small wound there on her thigh. Lu Song quickly walked over to Shin Jingxuan's place and lifted up her short skirt with one hand. Shin Jingxian screamed in shock. Su Hao came back to his senses, pulled Lu Song away and blocked in front of Shin Jingxian. But it was already too late. Lu Song looked maniacal, pointing at Shin Jingxian there and cursing. So it's you, you bitch, how dare you lie to me? You sent me photos of your thigh injury a few days ago, and asked me for comfort money, and then you turned your head and tried to dump me. I saw the mole on your thigh, it's you, you're the one who wants your heart. He once again stepped forward and tried to yank Shin Jingxian. Su Hao immediately stopped him and wrestled with him in order to protect Shin Jingxian. The other two stewardesses screamed and rushed to the passenger police. Shin Jingxian took the opportunity to run away. When Su Hao saw Shin Jingxian leave, instead of being the slightest bit angry, he relaxed. When Lu Song saw Shin Jingxian leave, he couldn't care less about entangling with Su Hao and immediately wanted to chase after her. Su Hao pulled him to his death and turned his head to glare at me, his eyes wide open. Lin Yushu, if you admit it, this wouldn't have happened. Why don't you admit it? I who coldly watched the two fighting. How many pounds of face skin does this have to be to say such words? Shin Jingxuan's life is life, my life is not. The police came very quickly, helped Su Hao subdued Lu Song. Lu Song is a smart person, no longer struggling, directly sitting on the ground, crying loudly about what happened between himself and Shin Jingxian, looking like a betrayed deep lover. His voice was too loud, and the service room here led straight to the cabin, causing many passengers to hear it. Some had already left their seats and gathered around here. The cabin was in chaos. The passenger police and Su Hao were both frowning. They knew that something would definitely go wrong if this went on. Captain Su, it's better to let Shin Jingxian come out and talk to him, or else I'm afraid that it will cause other chaos, and we won't be able to afford the responsibility when the time comes. The passenger police discussed with Su Hao for the sake of the big picture. Su Hao refused without thinking, no, it will be dangerous for Shin Jingxian to meet with him. The passenger police glanced at the passengers in front of them, and there were some complaints in his words. But this is supposed to be Xinjingshuan's problem. If she doesn't come out, how can we solve it? Su Hao ignored the passenger police's words and said righteously to Lu Song. Lu Song, please return to your position. If you continue to do so, you are obstructing the normal operation of the aircraft. We have the right to. Before he finished his words, Lu Song suddenly stood up from the ground and looked at Su Hao viciously. What kind of broken captain are you? What's between me and my girlfriend is none of your business. Still dare to threaten me? What I'm most afraid of is threats. If Xinjingshan doesn't come out today, let's have a fish death net break. From the nearest position beside him, he grabbed a young boy's arm and imprisoned him in his arms, one hand on his neck. I'm telling you, if Xinjingshan doesn't come out and give me a statement today, this little boy won't want to live. The little boy was only about 10 years old, and the pain coming from his neck made him cry out with a wow. The little boy's parents turned white with fear and wanted to step forward to save the little boy. Lu Song's hand around his neck tightened. Don't come over, or I'll strangle him. The scene from my last life reappeared. I subconsciously ducked towards the back. I knew that Lu Song he definitely did what he said. But obviously, Su Hao hadn't realized the seriousness of the matter. He still thought that Lu Song was just threatening. Lu Song, let go of this child. If you do this, Xinjingshan won't show up either. Snap! The little boy's mother was so emotional that she came up and slapped Su Hao. What kind of captain are you? My child is being controlled by him and you're still harboring your men. Hurry up and let that bitch out. The father of the little boy next to him glanced at the work permit in front of Su Hao. Su Hao, right? I'll file a complaint against you when we get off the plane. Are the lives of your cabin crew more valuable than ours? The surrounding passengers pointed at Su Hao. What kind of stewardess is this? Falling in love yourself and still involving the passengers. Hurry up and let her out. I just fell in love with her. I just heard it all. That stewardess spent people's money and still doesn't see them. Isn't that being and standing up again? Let her come out and talk. What's the point of hiding at the back? Buddy, there's a right to be wronged. You can't be upset with the child. Some of the passengers who were fighting for justice spontaneously wanted to go find Xinjingshan. The cabin was in an uproar, and the crew chief heard the commotion and came over. Knowing the cause and effect from the passenger police, the crew chief was afraid of an accident and made an immediate decision to send people to split up to find Xinjingshan. She, on the other hand, appeased Lu Song. This gentleman, I'm the crew chief of this flight. Don't worry, I'll definitely do the honors for you in this matter. Can you let the child go first? Lu Song slightly loosened his hand. I can only release him after Xinjingshan comes. The stewardess was relieved to see the child's face soothe a bit and continued to placate Lu Song. Su Hao walked to my side and whispered gently. Shu Shu, can you do me a favor? Hearing him address me in this way, I only felt chills down my spine and goosebumps all over my body. Without him opening his mouth, I knew that he couldn't spit any ivory out of his mouth. Seeing that I ignored him, Su Hao spoke stiffly. Shu Shu, Jingxian has only just started working not long ago. After this kind of incident the job is definitely gone. Can you go and tell your crew chief that that person is you? I was exasperated by him and laughed. Su Hao, is your brain filled with water? If I go and confess for her, what about my job? I can support you, Su Hao said with deep emotion. My stomach churned as I listened. If it was my last life and he said that, I might have foolishly agreed. But in this life, I had long seen through him. Then you go raise Xinjingshan. Su Hao looked at my oil and salt, and his face, which was gentle and watery just a moment ago, instantly became cloudy. Lin Yu Shu, what do you mean? You're my wife, letting me raise someone else? I didn't bother pretending anymore. The relationship between you and Xinjingshan, do I have to make it clear? Su Hao, let's divorce. Su Hao stared at me tightly, somewhat in disbelief. You know it all, said Su Hao, his eyes showing supplication. Shu Shu, I and Xinjingshan only once, that time I was drunk, confused. I don't want to divorce you, you will help Xinjingshan this time, after we live a good life. Boom, I only feel 5 thunderbolts. Even what he said behind, did not hear clearly. Originally I wanted to say that Shin Jingxian was his white moonlight. I didn't think that the two of them actually had a matter that I was simply unaware of in my last life. The corner of my mouth revealed a bitter smile, and I only felt that my hands and feet were cold. It turns out that I am the clown, being tricked by two people. I knew that Su Hao's unwillingness to divorce me was not because he loved me, but because of my family. The fact that he can get to this point today has nothing to do with the help from my family. And he will soon be examined. Divorce at this juncture will do him no harm but no good. Both, Su Hao, you are really greedy. I stared at him expressionlessly. No divorce and saving Shin Jingxian, you choose one. Looking at Su Hao's ugly face, I was a little curious. Future or Shin Jingxian, which one would Su Hao choose? Of course, which one he chooses has nothing to do with me. The marriage must be divorced, and there's no way I can help Shin Jingxian. Shin Jingxian is here, sir, can you release the child? Before he could make a choice, someone pushed and shoved Shin Jingxian over. Su Hao couldn't be bothered to talk to me anymore and rushed over. Shin Jingxian broke away from the stewardess who shoved her and subconsciously tried to back away. Chief Stewardess, he's just a madman, his words can't be trusted. Stewardess, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and arrest him. Seeing Su Hao who came over, it was like she grabbed a life-saving straw and immediately grabbed his arm. Senior, save me. The crew chief and the passenger police glared at Shin Jingxian in unison. Su Hao patted her back and looked towards Lu Song. Lu Song, Jingxian is here, if you have something to say, just say it. When Lu Song heard Shin Jingxian's words just now, his entire body became agitated. Shin Jingxian, what did you say? I'm a madman? He was immediately about to step forward, and the passenger police took the opportunity to try to save the little boy. Just as Lu Song took a step forward, he retreated, re-holding the little boy hostage and looking at Shin Jingxian insidiously. Let her come over, and I'll release the child. His sinister look scared Shin Jingxian so much that she didn't dare to move forward. I'm not going. The stewardess walked up to Shin Jingxian. Shin Jingxian, you caused this. Go talk to him. We are stewards. We should put the safety of the passengers first. I stood at the back and could clearly see the stewardess saying wordlessly to Shin Jingxian. You go ahead and stabilize him. We'll protect you. Shin Jingxian naturally also heard the words of the crew chief, but she remained motionless. The crew chief's face was anxious, but there was nothing she could do. She couldn't push Shin Jingxian over. Seeing Shin Jingxian's delay in coming over, Lu Song had become impatient, and he kept moving forward with the little boy, getting closer and closer to Shin Jingxian. Shin Jingxian subconsciously pushed Su Hao forward, blocking in front of herself. Su Hao couldn't believe it. Xian, you. Senior, just help me, I'm afraid he'll do something crazy. Shin Jingxian hid behind Su Hao, her face terrified. Lu Song pulled out a small selfie stick from his pocket, and after stretching it out, he hit it towards Su Hao here. Su Hao wanted to hide, but was unable to move as Shin Jingxian grabbed her back with a death grip. He was hit with a stick on his head. Blood flowed down his cheeks and looked creepy. The passenger police tried to save the little boy from Lu Song's hands, but Lu Song looked like he was crazy, swinging the selfie stick randomly. Su Hao touched his head and turned pale with fear, immediately moving to the side. The passenger police officer was afraid of hitting himself and dodged a little. The other passengers stepped back, lest they hit themselves. Lu Song saw Shin Jingxian, who was frozen in place in fear, and let out a horrible maniacal laugh. Shin Jingxian, calling me crazy, I'm crazy today, I'm going to beat your bitchy woman to death. He let go of the little boy and struck toward Shin Jingxian. The passenger police, who had been watching him closely, quickly pulled the little boy over to his parents. The crew chief cooperated with him to get the passengers to move back to avoid being hurt. Shin Jingxian came back to her senses and pulled Su Hao's clothes, and then pushed hard towards the front. The selfie stick in Lu Song's hand hit Su Hao's head again. Blood flowed down from Su Hao's head like a stream, shocking to the eyes. Su Hao turned to look at Shin Jingxian, his eyes full of incredulity. Xian, why did you do this? Shen Jingshuan's body was shivering. Senior, I didn't do it on purpose, I just don't want to die. If you don't want to die, let me die? Su Hao's voice was all filled with despair. What is the feeling of being betrayed by the person you love the most? Su Hao, you've finally experienced it, right? Senior, don't worry, I'll go and burn paper for you during the festivals. Shen Jingxian saw Lu Song call again, and without hesitation, she pushed Su Hao out again. She herself ran towards the front of the service room. As the stewardesses and I ducked out of the way, we accidentally dropped the beer cans in our hands. The beer can rolled down to Shen Jingshuan's feet, and Shen Jingxian fell to the ground. Lu Song had already hit the red eye, and regardless, he swung the selfie stick hard. Su Hao eventually collapsed. Blood stained the floor of the cabin red. His eyes were filled with disappointment and sadness. Lu Song, of course, could not spare Shen Jingxian, stepping over Su Hao and hitting the fallen Shen Jingxian. I let you lie to me and call me crazy. Even if I'm crazy, I was driven crazy by you. Shen Jingxian tried to get up from the ground, but was again held down by Lu Song. Lu Song grabbed her hair and hit her in the face with the selfie stick. Shen Jingxian spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, and along with it, a few teeth flew out. Lu Song was still not relieved, grabbing her hair and knocking it on the ground one by one. After a few times, Shen Jingshuan's face was already drenched in blood, and it was impossible to see the appearance. Lu Song stood up, swung the selfie stick and hit Shen Jingxian hard on her head. Is Laozi's money that good to spend? I even borrowed online loans for you, you actually treat me like this, I'll beat you to death. His entire being became an emotionless beating machine, swinging the selfie stick without the slightest pause. At the very beginning, Shen Jingxian continued to struggle, and in no time, she fell on the ground and stopped moving. And Lu Song is still continuing. I didn't expect that this Lu Song was so crazy and hit people really without any mercy. Shen Jingxian messed with someone bad, had to mess with such a person. But I still don't have the slightest sympathy for Shen Jingxian, this is all her own fault. If she hadn't dreamed of marrying into a rich family, she wouldn't have met such a crazy critic and almost harmed others. The two stewardesses next to me were so scared that their faces turned white, covering their mouths and not daring to make a sound. No one dared to come forward to stop Lu Song. The passenger police arranged the passengers and quickly came over to subdue Lu Song. Seeing this scene, the passenger police were also a bit shocked. Without a hostage, coupled with Lu Song's physical strength, the passenger police quickly held Lu Song down on the ground. Everyone helped tie Lu Song up. I looked at the dying Su Hao and Shen Jingxian, and thought of my last life, when I was like this, and could only wait for death to come. That kind of despair and fear, they also experienced at once. Painful? Can't say how painful. After the plane stopped, everyone sent Lu Song to the police station. Su Hao and Shen Jingxian were sent to the hospital. As Su Hao's family member, I naturally had to follow. After all, the confirmation slip for the abandonment of treatment still needed my signature. Because Su Hao was delayed for too long, his brain was severely damaged, and he eventually died. Shen Jingshuan's face is disfigured and she is brain dead, which means she has become a vegetable. Her family gave up treatment after learning that it was hard to wake up. Lu Song was sentenced to death for intentional assault. I didn't get divorced and became a widow straight away. This incident caused a great impact, but the good thing is that the passengers were not injured. Shen Jingxian has also died, the company also compensated the little boy's family, and the matter was finally settled. The company gave a sum of Su Hao's pension, and I asked them to give it directly to Su Hao's parents. Because I don't want to have the slightest possible contact with him again. I live with Su Hao. House is my parents' money to buy. I do not want to live, sold, took the money back home. When such a big change happened, my parents were worried that I would be sad, but they didn't ask much, they just stayed with me every day, and even thoughtfully took a leave of absence for me. Of course there was no sadness, I stayed at home for a few days, then I was ready to go out to travel for a break and start my brand new life.